Alright guys, this is 12-inch back with another video. So this one's going to be over combos and how and when to do them. So first we're going to get up to level 6, do our standard leveling. No items we really particularly need. I guess we'll pick up the corrupting pot just to show a couple mechanics. And yeah, I think that's it. So let's create our enemy dummy here. Alright. So typically when you poke in lane, obviously, you just throw Qs. You throw Qs whenever your opponent walks up to CS, you throw an E, you try and hit it at max range. If you're against Riven or a character with shielding, they're gonna predict your Q. Oh, let's turn off minions here. Okay. They're gonna predict your Qs, but they're not gonna predict your E's. So it's a matter of trying to fake them out. Especially with the Emax, I mean, nobody ever predicts it. Like, even experienced Rivens will maybe only get the last tick of E blocked. And the last tick of E at that point, you wait for her shield to go down, you launch another Q. So, to start off your combo, if you're in a bush, and you're going to try and hit somebody. So, blah blah blah. So, this is an Ahri. Ahri's walking up to the bush. You have maybe a second and a half to kill her. That's it. That's all you've got. So Ahri's walking up to the bush. So as she walks up, you auto Q, auto W, E, and then auto. So with no items, that's 515 damage at level 6. So assuming you have some lethality, that should be an auto kill. You know, if you're CSing well and she doesn't have Zhonya's. Now, if she has Tabby or Zhonya's, obviously you're not going to get the kill. Another thing to mention is if you have Ignite up, you want to start weaving Ignite at the beginning of your combo. Because assuming that the champion has some form of healing or health pot, you want them to get that reduced by your Revis wounds. Also, if Ignite is ticking while you're fighting, your Ignite's going to finish ticking by the time they try and flash out or get away, and so your final Q will be a crit. There's not much they can really do about it. So, alright. So let's pretend we have a team fight on our hand here. Okay? So there are 4 people mid. You really don't know what to do here. You know, your team is hanging out over here. And they're about to get ready to collapse. You know, they're more spread. These guys are more grouped up. They're trying to stick together so none of them are picked off by you as an assassin or one of your allies who may be an assassin or like have a pick ability as a tank. So when you ult in, you don't ult in like behind them. You ult in slightly in front of them. You want to be closer to your team. So you ult in, and the first thing you do is you back up, and then you E. You try to get as much of their team as possible, and then you go to the side. You let the chaos ensue, unless you have a for sure kill on either their ADC or their mid, and even then, if you don't have flash up, it may not be worth it. But for example, you loop around, right? So dummy here might be trying to go over to the bush for safety. You know, they might be trying to move up for safety, but they're going to spread out. As soon as you ult them and E them, and they start respecting your damage and the AoE of your team, they're going to spread out. So essentially, you're going to be trying to combo with a W pick, and you're not going to be weaving abilities, or weaving autos. Because, you know, you walk up from the flank, you jump in, you E, you ignite Q, and then you're done. You have to take really short bursts and then leave as soon as you're done with your burst. You don't wanna mess around with your enemy potentially having flash, or you overextending, spending too much time in the team fight, and getting absolutely slaughtered. Because you build maybe 250 HP and Ninja Tabby worth of armor. On a good game, maybe you have a couple resistance items and death stands, but you never really have any decent tank stats. So if you get hit by anything, you're insta-dead, especially past the 18-minute mark. You know, you start to scale up in damage at that point, but you also get really squishy as everybody else starts to scale up in damage. So essentially, your combo, if you're in a team fight and you're trying to pick someone off, is or you just W on them and then EQ. The reason why you can W on them and EQ, here one sec, let me auto refresh the cooldowns. The reason why you'd W on somebody and EQ is because your W lasts 1 second, okay? Your E is 0.75 seconds of channeling. So if you're quick with your abilities and you WE immediately, you can Q before they have a chance to get away. So if they have a dash, if they have any kind of like abilities that would shut you down or immobilize you, and you just need to kill them immediately, or let's say they're like Zay or Zaya, and Zaya's trying to get out of there with her ult, you can kill her by using all three abilities, all three of your base abilities, in your 1 second stun time, and then she can't get away. But you can't do this if you're trying to weave autos, because it takes, like, the whole auto animation, that's the auto animation, that's the Q animation. The Q doesn't go a ton faster, but it goes faster. Another thing is that this spear shot will do a lot more damage when it crits for under 15% HP. Your auto will maybe do like 200, 300, but your Q will start to do like 600, 700 as the game goes on. So you're almost always in team fights gonna want to finish with your Q. Onward. Now let's go to the top lane. So now you're top lane, you're trying to trade, you're trying to hit through minions, just trying to do all that good top lane stuff, okay? So the enemy dummy is here. So we're gonna play out two situations. So in one, this dummy is taking your top lane turret, okay? And he's dumb because you have your ult, right? He might be a little tanky, it doesn't really matter who he is. Very rarely will you not be able to kill him here. So you drop, you Q, you start autoing, you W to keep him under turret, and you don't E. Because your E is a 0.75 second channel, unless you're sure your E is going to kill him, it's not worth it. Because with your base movement of 355, you just run up the lane, autoing him, just trying to give him the good old 1-2 until you can hit him with the spear shot. Because as good as your E is for the nuke. So if you need sustained damage, like here, let me clear my dummies. So your opponent's walking up for CS, you know, you've queued him quite a few times, all that good stuff. You know, you're sitting in the bush, you queue, you have to walk behind him, you're going to take more minion damage like this. So you have to be sure that you're stronger than him. But generally in lane, even if you're like a level down, you can generally just beat the shit out of the other laner. There's not really much for them to do here. So you're queuing, you E if you're behind them, and you just keep the gap close. You only use your W when it's at max range. So if you're like right behind the dude, you're not going to W here. Because your whole advantage when you're running someone down is that you're faster than them and you're behind them. So they could either keep trying to run here, which isn't going to work, or they could take a less optimal path here. So if they're running here, you have to keep good eyes on the map. Make sure that your team is closer than theirs or their team is all accounted for. And if they have to take a path like this, you've already won. You know, you've already got the move speed. So never W on them unless you absolutely have to if you're behind them. But if you're like right here, all this room that you could use for autos, this is like 3 autos worth of room while they're running away. Not counting the autos that you get while you're behind them. But once they get a decent distance behind, then you can W for your max range and then walk behind them. And then start the process over again. Basically, you don't want to waste any time with your combos and your abilities, because as you waste, like, all Pantheon does is fall off. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's completely useless, but he's not as useful as he was when he started the game. So everything about Panth is on a timer. So your kills are also on a timer. So you need to learn how to efficiently combo down your opponents. And honestly, like, it is something you just get a feel with all your games as Pantheon, you know, when to use your E and when not to. But generally, when you're running down an opponent in lane, you don't use your E unless you're going to kill them. Now, when you're trading with an opponent in lane and they walk up to you, you give them the full hard Seeker Strike as they walk up, and then you start trading with them. Because a 0.75 second channel that can be stopped by CC or by something that stops channels it's risky to use, and it's a lot of time that you could be using running. Generally, those are your combos. There's not a lot of like complex things to do. When you W on an opponent that has like some kind of AoE CC like volley or Riven, generally you W in, you move a little back, and then you E. You make sure to space all of your abilities to use them efficiently, because you don't want to get an ability canceled. You know, if Riven W's you like mid Q cast and it stops your Q, or if she W's you mid E cast and stops your channel, you're dead in the water. You know, your abilities are so valuable because they do so much damage, but past that you have no mobility. So if you don't have the upper hand in fights, you're just gonna die. Honorable mentions for comboing is if somebody, if you know you can kill somebody, and they have like some kind of movement ability, or they have flash, or they're like a key component in a fight, flash W. I did that poorly, but so charge your W. So make sure you have quick cast on. Okay, it'd be like that. So if you're in a bush and you see somebody that you want to kill, just flash W. Nobody really has the reflexes to stop it. If you catch a Fiora and she W's you and you flash out a bush and W her, chances are she's scripting, which is more common than you'd think. So keep an eye out for that. If you find an enemy that you for sure know is scripting, just never use your W. Simple as that. I once had a Fiora when I was playing Mordekaiser that would W every one of my ults. Very obvious scripting, so I just never used my ult, and that's how I won, because you take an ability away from her, even though you lose one. Yeah, so essentially, you know, focus on Wing important targets. Don't use auto attacks when you don't have to. When you're in lane, auto attacks are safe to use. If you're low on mana and you feel like you're going to be running out and you need to be using that Q for the execute, your Q and your W are your most important abilities, because your E is too long of a channel, and if you can't count on having your Q after your E, because your E is a lot more mana, then just don't use it, because you don't have to. You're early game Pantheon. That's basically the brass tacks of Pantheon combos. I mean, there's really not a ton to learn here. You know, you W on, you Q, you auto, you E. As long as you make sure you're proccing electrocute if you're in lane and if you're out of lane, your combos are generally good. Maximizing damage, you know, you can just weave autos in there. You know, auto W, Q, auto, E, auto is generally alright. But I mean, that's about as far as it goes. Your auto weaving is not so important that you could ever afford to build Sheen. Your auto weaving isn't a massive source of damage. It's just kind of like if you have a steak and it needs seasoning in order to be a good dish. You know, season in your auto attacks. Versus if you're hungry and it's you and you've got a pan and you're in your underwear, don't season that shit. You know, just make your steak. That's about it for comboing as Pantheon. If you guys have any questions about combos, or if you see anything in my stream that you thought was odd that I should talk about, just ask the question in the stream. I'm generally streaming, you know, at least 4 or 5 times a week. So let me know if I missed anything, or if you want me to go over any specific combos that I might have done. But yeah, that's about a wrap. That's generally like how you should position, how you should combo in team fights. I appreciate the views, man. And have a good day, man. Good luck with the climb.